'em up, lay it down just like Matt and Mari. Wrestling RHAPUp's gonna make it sorry. Feeling like The Rock cause I'm driving in Ferraris. And we coming every week and it's feeling like a party. Moolah Ric Flair, showing out like Bianca Belair, Best podcast, flush it in the air, Roman Reigns and we win it, don't care, No cap. Throw 'em up, lay it down just like Matt and Mari. Wrestling RHAPUp's gonna make it sorry. Feeling like The Rock cause I'm driving in Ferraris. And we coming every week and it's feeling like a party.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Wrestling RHAPUp podcast. I'm your host, Mari Ford, and with me, as always, it feels like my two co-hosts here. Look at that. Yeah, Mr. Matt Scott and Grace Leeder. Grace, Matt.
Yes. Wait, hold on. Wait.
Co-host, Matt. We're co-hosts. Oh, yeah.
We're
please,
co-hosts.
Please.
We're co-hosts. And making her way to the podcast, hailing from Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Please welcome the highlight of game night, the Canadian creator, the innovator of play, the Hall of Gamer, the rated fun superstar, and the best there is, the best there was, the best there will ever be. Grace Leeder, aka Stella Skews You. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for the intro, man.
That was great. I tried to make it so you don't have to keep thinking of ones. I mean, it's a different one every time, y'all. Like, and
I need to have a recording.
Times,
I'm gonna bring a recording in the future.
But that was great.
Yeah, that was great. Yeah,
thank you.
Still good, even after.
You know who's great? Grace, you're great.
Oh, the two of you are
happy
great.
to have you.
I'm happy to be back.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Look at that.
I'd be wrong without you.
I know. It's so fun. It's like I would say a reunion because last time Grace was on, Matt wasn't here with us.
That's right. So. That's right. Filled in.
I don't want to talk about it. Because I feel like, Grace, we have a little bit of heat. Right now.
Yeah, I think you're only a little mad that you lost in the Wrestling RHAPUp Wrestling Federation. You're 0-2. Man, I think so far.
Okay, but
your loss is coming from Mari and myself. So
I don't need any of your silly little wins. I'm a winner. I know it.
Wrestling isn't about winning, as we all know.
Yeah, wrestling. That's what losers say. So,
I mean, that's what. Yeah. That's what makes a good underdog, right, Matt? You're just an underdog in our league here.
Yeah, sure. I mean, none of us has a championship now, though. So.
Okay, well, but. At least we have wins. Oh, all right. Anyways.
Oh, wow. Oh, yeah, I guess we do. Maybe we should get to Grace. Grace,
yes.
You've been up to some things lately. We know it. We heard that you were at Dynamite /Rampage this week. Is that right?
I was. My voice is recovered from yelling. You know what? I go to some independent wrestling shows and I have a group of oh wow, Matt. Very good. People should be watching on YouTube. And you spell my name right too. That's great. Grace Leeder is all elite.
Grace Leeder is all elite. Oh, check the tweet. I'm putting it. It's on Twitter. Grace Leeder is all elite.
That took me out.
So I'm a bit notorious for starting chants. I got made fun of a couple weeks ago a lot by multiple wrestlers, bad guy wrestlers. Sammy Callahan was making fun of me for wearing a sweater at a wrestling show repeatedly. So anyway, I'm very notorious for starting chants. And I was at the Dynamite Rampage taping, and I was sitting next to the people to my left. I didn't know them, and at the end of the show, they were like, "How do you know when to start the chants?" Like, this is like 25 years of like watching wrestling every day. And I know, like, when someone gets put in a rest hold, we are starting a slow clap chant. We're just starting slow, get it going, gotta support them. It's very fun. The show was great. Pretty packed house in Toronto. Really like vocal crowd. At one point, like, I did not hear what Don Callis said at all because people were booing him so loudly and for such an extended period of time. We didn't know what happened. And then I think Swerve was like, "Yeah, I'll fight Takeshita." And we were like, "Oh, that's what happened. That's what Don Callis said." Cool. Yeah. Very fun to see Mercedes Mone start the show. I will say AEW has this habit they have of when they bring someone in new before they have a match, they're like, every week you'll see on the graphic for the show, it'll be like, "And we'll hear from blank." And they've done this 2 weeks in a row. Well, like last week, we didn't know it was going to be her. And then this week is like, we'll hear from Mercedes Mone. It does seem like they're setting up probably a tag team match with Willow that will then turn into a singles match with Willow at some point. as like Willow was holding a chair behind Mercedes,
Yeah.
to hit her. But I do think I love Mercedes Mone. I think she's amazing. I think AEW still really struggles with like this, like they get caught into these like tropes a lot of times. I don't think this is Mercedes' strong suit to come out and like give this like the long promo at the start of the show. So I would like to see us move on. Like if next week they're like, and this week we will hear from Mercedes Mone, I'm gonna be like,
No.
come on, Tony, figure it out. Let's go do something different.
I kind of agree. Like, so we talked last week about her first promo and we talked about how good it was. And it's kind of like introducing herself. This promo, it was like the same thing almost in a sense. Like, I'm glad we got the
video package.
Yeah, the video package. That was great.
Yeah.
Like she showed, I did all this over the world. They were allowed to use the Stardom New Japan stuff.
Yeah.
That I appreciated. But you're right. It's like, why is she coming out and talking some more about like the things that she wants to accomplish here? And it's like, you know, and she tripped up a few times. That's okay, you know,
it's fine.
We all do that. But I'm just like, I'm glad she's here. I'm glad to hear from her, but it's like I don't. And then it led to nothing because she's kind of setting up this thing with Willow, but Willow's in a program with Julia Hart and Sky Blue and who is she?
I think that's over as of Rampage.
Okay,
I was really impressed with the tag team street fight, but Willow and oh my god, I'm also forgetting her name. She's the alien, Chris Statlander.
Oh, Chris Statlander. Yes,
they lost Willow, and so Julia Hart won on Rampage. It was an incredible match. I was a little surprised that it was the main event, but it was a street fight. They went all out. They had thumbtacks and tables and kendo sticks, and it was. If you haven't watched it, go check it out. It's a really great match. It was really good, and like just for a random Rampage match in Toronto on a Wednesday night, they pulled out all the stops. So might have been because Rampage was moved nights from Friday because of March Madness, that they wanted to make sure people stayed in and tuned around for the live showing right after. But it was a really good match. But I think that story between Julia, I think that's probably over unless they transition into like, okay, like could they find a third and Mercedes teams with one of them, or it's like Willow and Mercedes team up. And the story, I do think the story is interesting here of they're being managed by Stokely Hathaway, Willow and Statlander, and Stokely wants them to like be a little bit more devious, cheat a little bit more. And so I do like this story that we might get. My prediction is I think an amazing combo would be Stokely with Mercedes and give her a little bit like we're going to talk about Okada probably a little bit here. Okada in New Japan had Gato, who was like, he didn't really need a manager, but it was really a fun dynamic.
It just adds to it.
Kind of like Roman and Paul Heyman. Like Roman doesn't really need Paul Heyman.
You don't need it, but it's
super additive.
Yeah.
So I could see that being really fun where Mercedes has Stokely who's like hyping her up. I think
and that's what I'm saying. Like, instead of another long promo, have her in the back on it, like with her feet kicked up on a desk, being like, you know, if you don't know who I am, run the package, you know, like I would.
So there's two things though. I think the thing though is
two things.
Well, they've been doing this like, so Will Ospreay also had this where he's been doing like, just like he comes out and does a promo. This week I thought they did a really good job. At the end of the promo, he said like, Dan O'Brien, I saw you fought Shibata. It was an intense match. Like, I can walk in your shoes too. I'm going to fight Shibata next week. That's great. Like, we set up like this like overarching story over the week. So they've been doing this thing with Ospreay, the same thing that Mercedes is like, we're going to hear from Will Ospreay this week. I think that the problem that they have a little bit with like some of these stars that they sign, when they don't have them fight all the time, and there's such a gap between when they have their pay-per-views, they're doing more than they used to, but they're still not like every month there's not something coming up. Is that like, I paid for a ticket partially to see Mercedes. I guess I didn't know that Mercedes would be there when I bought my ticket, but once you put Mercedes on the like thing, I want to see Mercedes Mone.
I agree, yeah.
So having her, I think this is their way of satisfying the thing. If she's in the back and she's like has her feet on the table and then says like, check out the video package, and that's all I see of Mercedes, I'm a little bummed. I'm maybe a little.
I get that.
Bummed, but have her come out and like help Willow or something, or what, you know, whatever, we know, to figure out how to, like, for me to have eyeballs on Mercedes Mone. But it is they have such a big roster and so many things to do, so it's a tricky calculation they have to.
And let me just say, Mari, I'm looking at you right now because look, I feel like we should have like Kate Chastain, we need to have like Sari here, we need to have Dan Giesling, Parvati, because you are a traitor. You are a traitor, Mari, turning on Mercedes
wow.
right now.
I'm not
She is
turning on
such
her.
a big girl.
Set her up
girl,
for success, I think is what we're saying, Matt. Is you
Yes,
gotta,
like
Let me
yeah.
tell you this.
she's here now. Give me something.
She's here, but
Relevant.
she is such a big star. Two things need to happen. One, we get her starting her debut show and closing the show. And then she's such a big star that we need her to start the following week too. So I love that. And I also love the fact that her starting the show also and then the segments they had along the way. So the backstage segment, which was really fun with Stokely and Willow and with Statlander, and how they're kind of being like kind of weird, like, like, yeah, nice to meet you, we're kind of fans, but also I love that. And I love how it drew us all the way to the end of Rampage with the main event. I, for one, did not watch the end of Rampage because I fell asleep as I was attempting to do it, but I wanted to check out the street fight. So I like that. I like
watch
that
it on
women have been
YouTube. You can
featured
watch it on
so
YouTube.
prominently. I mean, yeah, it's like on YouTube. I wish they posted more of their clips. Like I wish they posted the backstage segments on YouTube. I don't think that segment's on, but anyway, I digress. Like I do love that they did the video package and gave the backstory, because we've talked about this, Mari, with AEW, that like WWE is so big on explaining every single thing to us a million times over, and AEW just hasn't always done that for us. So this has felt really good. But I'm on board. I don't think we're going to get her opening the show in, at least in this same way again. Another week in the row, that would be a lot. But for what we've gotten, I am thankful. I am eating. I am fed.
Collision is tonight. I assume they will announce like if she's what her thing will be on. They typically do that during Collision. They'll announce like what the lineup of things is. I would not be surprised to see that it's like some combo of a tag team. Maybe it's her first match, although they might have announced that last week. So we shall see. No,
we shall see.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe I'm just rushing it, but I'm just like, yes, I tune in for Mercedes and I tune out.
Yeah,
that's it. That's all. I do.
That's
the other highlights, obviously, of I think both shows were just like the two things. I think Okada winning the Continental title was a great match. It basically,
can we talk about that for a second?
What are the rules? Can you explain the Continental title rules?
It is complicated. Absolutely. And they did explain the rules on Dynamite, didn't they? Right?
Okay. So in December, they held the Continental Classic, which is basically their version of the G1 Climax, where they have two round robin tournaments with 6 people in each one. The people get the most points, face off in a semifinal match, and then the final was at World's End last year for the Continental Championship. But also, kind of confusingly, Eddie Kingston going into the tournament was also the NJPW Strong Champion and the Ring of Honor World Champion, and put up both belts in the tournament, basically saying, I'm defending my belts in the tournament. If I don't win, I won't be the champion. Whoever wins will be a Triple Crown champion. The Continental Classic also had these very unique rules of basically there being no outside interference allowed. So it can only be the 2 wrestlers. That's really the only like unique rule to the Continental Championship, which is why they had the Young Bucks weren't allowed to be ringside. So they said they were producing the match from backstage is what they were doing to try to help him make Okada look good. So no outside interference. But recently, I think that they've been doing this thing where, like, I think Eddie might lose all of them all the titles individually, which I think is really good because I think Eddie's much better at chasing belts than being the champion. And then I think what they're doing is they're setting up this belt, the Continental Championship belt, as kind of like the number 2 belt over the TNT title because it's now Okada. It really legitimized Okada, like. That dude is now going to have a title belt he gets to walk out with. Every week he'll put on a great match. It'll be great. The crowd was super, super split between Eddie and Okada, which is interesting because I think Tony Khan has talked about that. He's always thought that Okada could make a really, really good American bad guy, like a television, American television bad guy. That's going to be really tough to get people to boo that guy because he's really good at wrestling. So.
He is, but Grace, I have never, and you know what? I'll admit my flaws. I've never really watched Okada, and I know, like, if you asked me about Okada here, I could talk about how amazing his legacy is and how he's one of the greatest wrestlers in the world. I just hadn't witnessed that personally. But I did watch all of Dynamite, and I had to watch that finish about 5 times because I never had seen the Rainmaker.
Yeah, that's
finish,
his
Oh, the
finisher.
Rainmaker.
which
The
is
Rainmaker.
a lariat / clothesline.
Yeah, he like wraps your arm around you, spins you around, and clotheslines you, and that's his move. Yeah, it's the
I will say
Rainmaker.
he does that better than most
Yeah,
people
looks good.
probably could, but I was like, wait, that was the end of the match? And I think
Yeah.
commentary didn't really like build toward the end too effectively, but I was like, oh,
I feel like in
okay.
Japanese wrestling, there was a thing of like
Yeah.
the Japanese announcer who typically is speaking in Japanese, then just going Rainmaker was like the thing
Yeah.
that made the move like amazing. So like
Mhm.
I don't know. I mean, there's tons of finishing moves that you're like, that's the one that finishes up. But the kayfabe and all is like,
It's like,
he's the
man.
best at hitting a clothesline on a guy, you know. So
And I will say Eddie Kingston did sell it like a gunshot, basically. So
he also cheated.
I mean,
Okada cheated just before that. He raked the eyes. So
he put
he's a
the
big old cheater.
thumbs in the eyes.
Yeah, his thumbs in the eye. Yeah.
Deep in the eyes.
Yeah.
I love that for him.
The other thing is
to me. No,
the main event was so fun to be in. It was like complete fan service for people in Toronto, where it was Edge versus Christian. Sorry,
Uh-huh.
Adam
Oh,
Copeland
yeah.
versus Christian Cage.
Uh-huh.
Toronto Maple Leaf themed attire, Toronto Maple Leaf jerseys, putting them in a Boston Bruins jersey. I Quit match was very over the top and wild and very silly, but it was very, very fun to watch live. And Adam Copeland is now the TNT champion. And I think he's going to bring back his what is it? It's a silly name. It's like the Cope Open, I think. So it's an open
What?
contest.
Excuse
Thing he'll do the Cope Open, I think.
What do you mean by bring that back?
He did it. He did it to like re-earn his shot at the TNT title before. He would have an open challenge each week against a random person. So yeah, no, it was great. It was really fun. The crowd was like super hot for this match. Yeah, it was great.
That's good. And it was fun. I will say a lot of not Adam Copeland's, but Edge's matches in WWE the last few years, like just a little too slow for me personally, which is hard to watch because I was always a big Edge head, always Edger, you know. So you know, it's but this was a fun one, and they seemed like they're having a great time, which is cool. And it's weird that
Christian is
still
such a good
wrestling.
bad guy. He's so good.
He
He's so freaking the turtleneck. He's the head of the patriarchy. He's like,
Yeah, I saw that.
He's great. He's so good. The finish was basically like Edge using his like a board with nails on it to hit him in the groin and end the patriarchy. Basically, right? That's like
That's
it's like
funny.
so stupid, but it's great.
My only last question for you is:
Yes.
were the CEO chants like chanting? Was it actually taking hold? Because people
yeah.
say that it wasn't.
It definitely was like people were trying to get the thing weirdly Coca-Cola Coliseum, which is where the event was held, which is not like where the Raptors or whatever play. It's a smaller venue. It's where the Toronto Marlies play, so the minor league team for the Toronto Maple Leafs. I was finding it a little hard. Like a lot of the chants would like start in one section and be and then like we were like nobody was in sync for a lot of things except for like entrance music stuff. So the CEO chant was pretty loud, I thought, during the entrance, and it was maybe a little harder to get going later. I find it hard. I don't like when it's just like we chant the same thing to the same wrestlers, but people only seem to want chant CEO for Mercedes Mone. But no, it's it's funny. AEW loves these, like they have the senior vice presidents and they have the
I love it.
now Sasha's the CEO and like what I will say
president.
all the young bucks, they're
all the bucks.
SVP,
Oh yeah,
they're SVPs. Yeah, Kenny Omega is one too. Cody was one. Yeah,
there is no CEO. I mean, now there is, but
isn't Tony? I believe Tony is the president. Maybe he's called the.
No, he's like president.
She called him something before.
Chairman.
She
I know.
herself. The chairman. Yeah. Okay,
yeah, whatever. Yeah,
he is. Yeah, the chairman, which is also.
She's like, thank you to Tom, who is the chairman, for bringing in the CEO.
I will say, every time like a wrestler, it does like basically a money gimmick. It like does it because like Mercedes promo was basically just like, and I'll make you pay, and if you don't have it, you will be bankrupt. And I'm like, okay, all right, I get it.
Okay. Thank you, Grace, for some on-site coverage of Dynamite.
Of course.
We can't wait to talk about our experiences at WrestleMania Night 1.
Yes.
That's coming very, very close. So if you haven't already, have you not subscribed to our new YouTube? Did you not see Matt just pull up that very hilarious photo of Grace?
Literally, we'll pull it up again.
If not, go to youtube.com/@WrestlingRHAPUp. That's youtube.com/@WrestlingRHAPUp. Again, we have a new channel. Come join us. Come here. Come over here. We're over here now. We're over here.
Breaking.
And then also, of course, subscribe to our feed by going to RHAPasawebsite.com/wrestling feed to subscribe there. But now let's get into the highlights of the week. I know I talked about it on pod. I completely surprised Matt last week. And I was like, hey, Matt, next week we should just talk about all the storylines that we haven't talked about for the last 2 weeks. So, yes. Okay, great. Okay, cool. That was exactly what we were going to do. No. Oh,
that's funny.
Because SmackDown came on and just, oh, God, it was so good. Okay, so.
God, it was good. Yes.
It was so fun. Like, two seconds aside before I get into this highlight. SmackDown, when SmackDown doesn't have to worry about The Rock going 40 minutes over, they use their time so incredibly wisely between opening up with a really good Rey Mysterio and Santos Escobar match, which felt like a long match that actually wasn't that long, to having 2 like tag team tournament matches in there in between 5 segments for the women. Like, they used that 2 hours very well. And then, of course, closing the show with a Roman and Cody promo,
which was like 20 minutes. Like, so
not that long for them.
I mean, half of that was Roman walking to the ring, but I mean, you know, yeah.
So just the pacing was just really well done last night. So I gotta give them some kudos for that. But yeah, no, it's happening. We get Naomi and Bayley talking, and Bayley's like, Naomi, thank you so much. Thank you for coming to my rescue last week. We did talk about this last week a little bit. And the moment I saw Naomi, I was just like stunned. Like, Matt, do you have a picture? Because that, oh my God, I want to die. Look at this outfit and this hair.
Her hair.
Oh my God. It's like,
I love when she gets away from the green because we're so used to it.
Yeah.
But oh my God, she has like a little bit of a racing stripes, racing flag thing going on, but then like a very much like late 90s, early 2000s Nickelodeon orange / purple vibe happening.
Some rainbow in
along
there.
with a rainbow in the hair. Coordinates very well with Bayley's tie-dye shirt, which I'm assuming is for sale.
That shirt is nice too, like Bayley's. Yeah,
that's a nice shirt.
That's great.
And then Bianca just
look at
looking
her.
Like
look at her.
Money.
Yes,
Look
just
at
$1 million
diamonds, dripping diamonds. She's in one of the Renaissance looks. Like, we love that for all of them.
I was so gagged. I saw this fur. I thought this was all we were gonna get all night, and I was like, "Yo, this is incredible."
Well, it's not just that they look amazing. The story is so good. It's exactly the nuance that we like. I think that sometimes we feel as wrestling fans of Matt. You talked about like the way that they'll show us a video package a million times, but like then the stories will be like simple, and you're like, oh, but these two fought like 2 years ago, and like, and then they're totally ignoring that thing. And I think there's a tendency to simplify wrestling stories a lot of time. Where like Bayley like being beat up by Damage CTRL would just mean that like, okay, now she can be friends with Naomi and Bianca, but it is not that simple. It is super nuanced of like Bianca literally being like, Naomi, you have not been here since like Bayley like has been the monster that she's been, and you're not understanding that she was like, she let attacks on me happen and was part of them, and like, you need to understand that I don't want to trust her. And Naomi being like, but we have to, or else they're gonna like pick us off one by one. It's so good. It's so well written.
It's so and it makes perfect sense too, because what we have traditionally seen is they'll just have Bianca or they'll have the baby face run out inside with the other baby faces, and it's just a lot more dynamic than that. I also just want to appreciate that Naomi's the veteran here. Like, she has been around since that original contest version of NXT with AJ Lee and the like and all of them. And it's so cool that she could just be like Bianca, let me pull you aside and like mentor you and tell you why I'm doing this and why it is what it is. So even just watching the segments between them was nice. Cody Rhodes made a random cameo signing autographs.
Autograph.
Yeah. I love how like the camera cuts and shows him and the fans start to cheer. You hear them in the arena and then it's like not at all about him. It's about the two of them. Like I loved how all of that was shot and how it all came together.
So good. 5 segments, y'all. 5
segments.
Like different. So and then it all feels so real, right? It's like that perfect mashup of when the storyline is right, the kayfabe storyline is right, and the non-kayfabe storyline is right, okay? Because we get Naomi, who has not been here for 2 years, like because Damage Control formed after the walkout, and then her sticking up for Bayley, because we know, like non-kayfabe, Naomi and Bayley have been, you know, traveling and supporting each other throughout this last 2 years. Bayley's been going to all of Naomi's, like as much as Naomi's stuff as possible. They've both been going to Mercedes stuff. Mercedes been going to Naomi stuff.
Photo of Bayley at the Mercedes Mone debut, taking pictures on her big iPad like an old lady.
Yes, we talked about that last week. Yep. Yes. So it was like, it's like non-kayfabe wise, her and Bayley still have a good relationship, and then on the flip side, like her and Bianca have always had a relationship, and they didn't really get a chance to, I feel like, really work together before everything happened. And so for Naomi to be mentoring Bianca and for them to like be using like their like she's calling her B and like kind of like nicknames, it just all feels so real. And Bianca's righteous indignation feels real because yes, she has literally been getting beat up by Damage Control for 2 years.
And it's not a heel move. Like, and that's the thing I love, that people are like, is she turning heel? Like, no, she's just being human and pissed.
Can we also say that this all comes because Charlotte gets injured, and sometimes we need some miracles and I'm not calling Charlotte's injury a miracle. Okay.
Exactly.
Some people might. That's not me. I don't want anybody to be injured in wrestling, but being able to pivot from potentially the two of them wrestling each other or teaming or whatever to this is really, really great. And presumably now we're getting Bianca and Naomi challenging for the tag team titles at WrestleMania.
Well, that's what you think, but also something else that's just an interesting dynamic is that we did get the announcement that Jade Cargill is officially
who is the host here?
SmackDown. I look, it wasn't in the outline. It's not in the outline.
It is in the outline. It's
Where
at
the hell is it?
It's at the end.
Oh well, I'm just mentioning this
That's
now
why I'm saying,
because I think that the fact of the matter is, like, Jade needs to enter the dynamic.
I agree.
Jade is gonna enter the chat.
I think it depends on when Dakota's lined up to actually. So is she has been wrestling, right? But she's still wearing the knee brace.
Grace, literally, I've been saying that exact same thing. I'm like, I'm so scared for Dakota. I'm like, is she back? Like everybody's like, she's back. I'm like, are you sure?
But I wonder actually if you let Jade like just sign. I don't know what they're gonna do with like everybody else. Like we talked about, I think a few weeks ago, Mari, when I was on. Like I would like them to bring back the women's battle. Like I like the battle royals, just like the idea that everybody gets on the show. But and I don't know what you do with everybody else. I feel like that would be a good win for Jade. And if you sort of let her do her own thing until basically like let this be 3 against like 4, and then after WrestleMania, you can like have Jade show up and maybe she like evens the odds. Although I think Jade and Dakota maybe are not evenly matched. I love Dakota Kai. I'm not saying, but like the idea that Jade is like there to even out the score because Dakota is also there is kind of funny. But
so for me, right? Like I think there was a point being made here though, because like the third segment is as Naomi is waiting, we're getting a Naomi versus Io tonight, and that's the whole setup for all of this. And as Naomi is waiting for Io to come to the ring, her music plays. I like how the rest of Damage Control comes out and just does like weird
Dances?
dancing. Yeah.
Wait, thank you for commenting on that. Just because, like, that's my favorite. One of my favorite things in
I was like,
wrestling is
what
how
are
much
they doing?
dancing there is, like random dancing. But they
It's
literally
like
are just
distraction
standing there,
dancing.
like doing their best Mercedes Mone dances.
They were
They
like,
might as
they
well
were
be
like,
chanting CEO.
they were like doing distraction dances because they're like, wait, where everybody's like, where's EO? And then like on the monitor, EO's in the back beating up Bayley. So it's like they're making a point that okay, we're beating up Bayley, so do not expect Bayley to come out. You know what I'm
I
saying?
love it.
Like this numbers game is gonna get the best of you. Then EO comes out.
Mhm.
EO and Naomi have a great match, just an amazing match. We get a little bit of interference from Damage Control in order for EO to win, which of course leads to them beating up Naomi and Naomi getting the mist to the eyes. I was like, no,
And the way she sold it, she
so
screamed
good,
getting misted in the
so
eyes. Like, it
good.
was
Good.
It
beautiful.
was amazing. And then so of course everybody's like, come on, come on. And Bianca's music hits. Arena goes nuts. And I was like, oh my God, the way she beat the crap out of Dakota on her way to the ring, I was like,
I will say she took my
Dakota.
notes because my note is go in, hit and run, just do it.
Yeah,
But
she did.
she could have taken them all out.
But yeah, but they got the
But
best of her because the
yeah,
numbers game, and then the two of them together get beat up. I thought it was like so poetic that
Yeah.
Naomi is trying to cover her, and they're both. I was
but
like, this is Shakespeare.
but this
This
is also what
Shakespeare.
Naomi says backstage to when Bianca isn't sure she wants to help Bayley. Naomi's saying, I don't care what happened before. What's happening now is they're able to take us out, and they've been doing it one by one. And this is obviously not
Yeah,
one by
by
one,
one.
but this is not having. They took up Bayley one by one, and so they aren't able to do it. And like, yeah, there's 4 of them, and whatever we could say, like, whether or not we need Jade or whatever to come in. But what this sets up really well is for Bianca next week to basically be confronted by Naomi or Bayley to basically be like, listen, I know you don't like me if it's Bayley, but like even 2 of you couldn't take on the group. Like the 3 of us need to stick together,
We need to stick
presumably
together.
leading to a 6-woman tag probably before Mania and then
No.
setting up the tag. No, you think an 8? You
No,
think 8?
No.
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 Because they specifically, I think it was very strategic that right after this segment was over, they did the Jade announcement segment. Like
Yeah.
literally right after. And they had built it up a month ago where Damage Control is walking down the hall and Jade comes face to face with them and she's like, I ain't like that. Like, she had already kind of like stared them down after they had beaten up Bayley, I believe it was. And so I think that what's going to happen is when she makes her first appearance, I don't know if she's going to make her appearance before or after the Bianca match, but I could definitely see Damage Control coming out and interrupting it, being like, we run this, we run this. Or she just calls them out because she's here. That's the top belt too, So I definitely think that Jade's entering the chat. I think at WrestleMania we get Team Black Girl Magic against Damage Control. I think we get Bianca, Naomi, and Jade versus Damage Control. We get Coda and the Kabuki Warriors, and then I think that's a good place to start for then building up either Bianca and Naomi taking the tag belts off of them, or Bianca and Jade, whichever way they want to do it. I'm still not sure about where they want to do it.
Naomi,
But
Bianca, I
yeah,
don't know.
I
Well,
think, and it's
yeah.
a good way to keep the storyline progressing because again, Bianca just needs those tag belts to be a Grand Slam champion. So I don't know who she's gonna do it. It would seem like it'd be her and Naomi right now because I think they have the better, like they have a really good story right now. And I don't think you need to rush it to do it at WrestleMania.
Here's where I think there's logic. Part of me is like just skeptical that they're going to throw Jade into this, but I think it's you've perfectly laid out why. And then I've also talked myself just into the fact that so the interesting piece is like Jade is, other than Cody, probably the biggest name to come over. Apologies to Brian Pillman Jr. to come over from AEW. And then there was this thing of like, she apparently, like the backstage rumor stuff was that she needed a lot of training, which I kind of thought was a little bit of like shade on AEW of like, oh, we took one of your big stars, but actually she needs like a ton more, like, we're going to train her up. I don't know that I
It's fake.
buy that that's the reason, more so than let's make sure it's the right moment, and the Royal Rumble is absolutely the right moment and she looked like a
Yeah.
superstar. But if there's any legitimacy to like they want her to like even just learn the WWE style a little more, there is
Exactly.
a ton of credence probably to the idea that if you want her to be in a 6-woman tag match at WrestleMania, and
Yes.
the idea that if you're eventually, you know, putting the title on her the same way I just talked about Okada getting the belt to legitimize like him in AEW, could do the same thing with Jade, but have it be with Bianca, who is a completely trusted like wrestler who you could have her learning, like Jade could be learning from Bianca in tag team matches.
I've
Grace,
literally
Kind
been
of
saying
bumps
it
out
for
Naomi,
months.
but bumps
For
out Naomi, but
months.
you know.
Sure, but Grace, like to borrow from Bianca, girl, Jade is ready. Jade is ready. I
Well,
love
we're
it.
not
Like
saying that she's not ready. It's
no,
still
but
it's still a
I
different system,
no, well,
Max.
I want to comment on the rumors about that, because the thing is, people have been saying that about Jade and trashing her in-ring abilities
Yeah,
forever.
forever.
But then when she joined WWE, I mean, Triple H commented on it. He said she'll come up when she feels that she is ready to be on the main roster, and we're like, they're not in a rush to put her out there. She
Yeah.
could have shown up
It's
in
so
September
smart.
when they signed her and been a performer better than a lot of the people on the roster, and then you add in her presence and star power, and she's literally head and shoulders above the rest. And so, I mean, like, a tag team match I think is a great way to debut her, especially if it's at Mania,
Yeah.
just because it's so big, but also like you save the big one-on-one match, or you know, her on her
We need
own.
something for
In
Backlash.
well, no, well,
You know?
but you also save that for the next Mania. Her first Mania one-on-one match
Oh,
is
yeah.
next year, because we've talked about this already a bit on the podcast. Just like, you don't want to throw Jade or even Jade and Bianca against each other in a one-on-one match on this WrestleMania, because there's no build.
There's no
So
build to it.
I love that they're really taking time with her and investing in her and also protecting her. And
Yeah.
I'm glad she'll show up next week, and I hope she's wrestling for the first time, like debuting at WrestleMania, or you know, beyond the Royal Rumble, debuting at WrestleMania.
And it just honestly all makes sense. It's kind of like the Ronda Rousey treatment. Like Ronda had that amazing like mixed tag match at WrestleMania that literally launched her rookie career. It's like it's like when you're drafting quarterbacks for the NFL. It's, are you going to sit them for a year and let them learn behind the veterans, or are you just going to throw them out there behind a bad O-line and hope they make it? You know what I'm saying? It's like you gain nothing by having your talent sit and learn. Meanwhile, not only is she learning, but she's been, I checked, if you Google Jade Cargill, she's been on WWE TV for the past 5 months. Hasn't done a match at all, but still on still all over the YouTube. They're still making her relevant. The fact that they even gave her this promo announcement of like she picked her spot, like she was a free agent, like Nick Aldis is, I landed the big fish. All of this is what's perpetuating that stardom, and keeping her out of the ring just helps with that as well to me. So I think a 6-person match is perfect, because all she needs to do is come in for the hot tag, look good, and I guess they win. I'm not sure. It doesn't matter. We'll get to that if it happens. Like, yeah, but it's like, it's just, I think it's the perfect setup for her. And then on top of that, I think if we're like thinking about the women's battle royal, they're setting up Tiffany really nicely right now. I know that we were like, people were saying like maybe it would be Tiffany versus Bianca. Tiffany did make a sly comment after the Naomi, when Naomi and Bianca were trying to, there was a small clip after Naomi got misted and Bianca was trying to wash her eyes out. She was trying to flush her eyes. Tiffany came over there like, yeah, you look great, Naomi. Like, she just said something stupid, and like it would be good for her to win the battle royal, I think, too, as well. So maybe they changed up some stuff, but either way, I think all of this is just really good. It's just so nuanced. It all makes so much sense. it's building to a pinnacle here at WrestleMania, and then well, I shouldn't even say that. I feel like it's actually like really just one step, because I really think that they can take it further after
I hope they
WrestleMania.
do. Hopefully.
Yeah. If they do this right, they can definitely take it further after WrestleMania. So I'm excited.
I am too. And I'll just say, like, it is so interesting because last WrestleMania, you have to remember, like, it happened, but allegedly the Vince was there and involved, and then he was there the Raw after Mania, and that was a mess. And he is not around, and hopefully he's like really far away from wrestling. I'm actually getting nervous about it as I mention it, because I'm like, wait, is there a chance that he like pops his ass back in? But hopefully he's like actually gone, and Triple H could actually go forward with his vision, because I trust that vision
a little bit more. Yeah.
Oh, a lot more than Vince.
All right. Is that all for the this storyline? All right. So let's move on to a storyline we haven't really talked about for the past few weeks, just because I really was not sure where this was all going, to be quite honest. But like, starting about like a month ago, when Liv Morgan had come back for like her revenge match against Nia, and then Becky interrupted that, and then Becky had a match against Nia, then Liv Morgan interrupted that. We then got Liv Morgan versus Becky. And so it's like this build with Becky versus Rhea. It's like they're building it like a face like a face versus face build, because of course Rhea has so much support, even though she's still in that tweener character, and Becky is a baby face. And I've said this multiple times on this podcast. I truly don't like I don't like face versus face matches because of stuff like this. Like, I love Liv Morgan. I'm so glad she's back, and I am glad that she's getting a lot of spotlight, but I'm just kind of like, she's being used to build this feud, and I just want her. I can't wait till she has her own feud, you know? I'm hoping maybe this just means that if Rhea retains, if and when Rhea retains, then maybe Liv is next one up. But I just was not understanding the inclusion of Liv and Nia here, especially since I was talking about it at Elimination Chamber. I thought maybe Nia would wiggle her way into the actual WrestleMania match somehow. But that doesn't look like that would happen, because it culminated this week with Becky Lynch versus Nia Jax with the last woman standing match that Becky Lynch won. I do like that Rhea is calling Becky out, saying like, oh, you're just taking all these matches so that if you're not 100%, you can have an excuse as to why you didn't beat me and stuff like that. So it's good, but I don't know. Am I thinking too much here, Grace?
No, I don't think so. I think the issue is that I don't know what else you do with it. I think that the women's Raw roster is a little bit of like, there's like the big names, and then there's a pretty big drop off, I think, between the people I'd be interested. I feel like people who kind of fit in the closest next tier is someone like, you know, Liv doing something with like Chelsea Green, and like Piper Niven would be fun. But it's a little, Shayna is around, but you know, it's a little bit like, you know, I feel like the problem is that she kind of deserves to be hanging out with like Becky and,
she definitely does.
But she's so the odd person out of the story. I don't know whether like Liv against Nia at WrestleMania. I don't know. I don't know what else they do here in terms of like what's Liv thing at WrestleMania gonna be.
I don't really care about Liv at WrestleMania. You know, like put her in a battle royal, but I do really care about Liv, and I think that we're going to get back to Liv, like she said to Rhea, I'm gonna take everything away from you, and she's gonna do that, not at WrestleMania, but I think we'll come back around to it. And in the context of like the bigger picture, what they build toward, I like that Liv's involved here. Sure, she's not like she wasn't gonna stop Becky's road to Mania or get in the way, but it does kind of add in that question mark for us, at least. Like, will Liv work her way in? Will Nia work her way in? No, but they're showing that they're on that level, and they're a second away from being, or a step away from being in that championship picture whenever WWE decides to, give them that opportunity. So, I mean, I like how they've kept Liv in the conversation, and she's just frustrated, like in the backgrounds, which is a good place for her to be while she's basically waiting for Becky and Rhea to resolve their little feud.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. It's like, I mean, it's just the good thing is she's on our TV. The good thing is she's being used. The good thing is the crowd still loves her, and the good thing is she's being included with these big names. So I get all of that. It's just, I was just like, what? Why is Liv and Becky? Okay, Becky, Rhea. Okay, you know what I'm saying? It's just like, okay, I guess it felt like it. I guess it's because we have so many other storylines that are kind of doing the same thing. Seth and poking his nose and the Cody Roman stuff, and we'll talk about it next. But like, it feels like, are we focusing on the right feuds and stuff like that? But then at the same time, I do love when storylines intersect. So yeah, it was just interesting. I guess the biggest thing is, in what we've known since the beginning of January, we just have to wait till Becky versus Rhea is up, and then we'll see where it goes from here. Because that's been the clear path for months now.
Yeah. I think one of the interesting things is like, I really, as a wrestling fan, really try really hard. Like if I was at like 2 shows this week, I try so hard to boo the bad people and cheer the good people. Exactly. And it gets really tough when like someone like Rhea, who ends up just being so beloved despite being like,
so
for all purposes, like a heel. She's not really, it's just that she's getting cheers, and they're making a choice to play into it to a degree. Like she definitely still has heel tendencies, but I don't think she's like, Christian Cage is somebody who I really appreciate for the fact that like he will come. When he was the last time I went to an AEW show, he came out in Toronto, and he's from Toronto and got cheered, and he managed to turn that whole crowd against him. Like it is sort of my favorite thing, but they don't seem like they're not trying that same thing with Rhea. I don't feel like, where she's coming out and like The Rock did this, right? When he came out and was getting cheered, and he made the line of like, we broke the attendance record for all the like, all of these like babies in the audience. But I can't remember exactly what he said, right? But he was like, do not cheer for, like
stupid people or something.
He is trying very hard, like, not cheer for me. I think the other thing for like, when you're someone like Rhea, who's in a position where she's not The Rock, who doesn't have necessarily like years and years of like making money, like stuff like selling merchandise is not nothing for Rhea. Like she is getting a huge chunk of money for selling so it's like, it's not the worst thing to not play into being bad. It's just like, then I'm like feeling like, I really don't love the and I like Rhea more than I think I like Becky a lot, but I like Rhea more. And I would be like, if I was going to WrestleMania, I would be tempted to like want to cheer for Rhea, but my instinct there is like, Rhea's more the heel than Becky is, I think. So it's like, I also don't love babyface.
No, I don't mind it if it's the right situation, the right tension that's in there. Like, I do feel like sometimes the babyface versus babyface thing brings out some heel tendencies in like one of the baby faces, maybe, and then it feels a little less like, like there's a story to that, and it makes a little bit more sense when that happens. But one thing that's so fascinating to me about Rhea, because I really see what you're both saying and what you're saying, Grace, but it's funny because her character hasn't really changed.
Exactly.
So it's fascinating. I appreciate it. It's not like they're putting her over as a babyface, and she's still like bad, the way that Becky looked worried when Rhea's music hit after that match with Nia, like, oh my gosh, what's gonna happen? Like that, to me, I was reminded like, oh yeah, Rhea is a heel, even though we don't really treat her like that. It's hard. I think Mari,
I think she's doing a great job.
She's very beloved, could be in face territory easily, but she is definitely that kind of tweener.
Yes, this tweener role that she's pulling off. I think she's pulling it off well, because I think she's doing a good job of walking the line of like, not like she's not being mean to the crowd, so the crowd will boo her, but she's still being mean to her opponent. But she's also still delivering the lines that the crowd wants to hear. You know,
they wanted
to
play into having her be the baby face because they were going to be in Australia for Elimination Chamber. She was up
Exactly.
against Nia, whereas now she's fighting Becky, and I feel like they might she's almost like the old school like version maybe of a tweener, where like you play both so that whoever she's fighting against, she can play the good guy or the bad.
Yeah, exactly. So I think she's doing a phenomenal job. It's just I think it's more of we've just known that has been the match for so long that it's just like, okay, come on, let's hurry up and get here. You know, I think that's what's the biggest thing.
But I'll also say they've given us so much. Like they've really, it hasn't felt like filler. It hasn't dragged. The matches have, like, the match between Becky and Liv was fantastic. The match between Nia and Becky was fantastic. I like how they even kind of protected Nia by having Becky put her through 2 tables, and Becky even went through a table. Or like that match was the last man standing match they had was just so brutal and intense.
That's why they call her Becky 2 Tables.
Becky 2 tables.
And I just, oh my god, I just love Pat McAfee and what's his name, Michael Cole together. Yeah.
By the way,
together, it's so good.
It is, and I think Mari, you definitely sent me a TikTok of them just like laughing their asses
laughing
off
together.
Dumb
I love together.
Michael Cole is so happy again. I love it.
I will say, just a shout out to Becky for getting her citizenship this week.
Yes.
But then her US citizenship, but then also being at the
White
House. The freaking White House meeting Joe Biden. And I mean, I don't think she probably didn't leave her book in the White House. She left her book. I hope she left her book at the White House. She's on a run. She's on a roll.
I want to the Michael Cole and Pat McAfee thing. Michael Cole, I think, did an interview where there was a lot of like quotes pulled from it this week about his thing about just how much more independence they have. And one of the things he was talking about with like Corey Graves is like he really thinks like Corey Graves might actually be the Michael Cole successor, moving into like a lead announcer guy and really finding his own voice, which is a big thing that has happened since the turnover, is that they let the announcers have their own voice, which I thought was really interesting. I can't remember when the interview was done, but there was a lot of quotes from it this week. If you probably search for the Michael Cole interview.
Wow. Isn't that amazing when you like don't have someone yelling in your ear while you're trying to talk, how great it could make.
But Rob, I don't know if people know that, but Rob yells in our ears on every podcast. Rob is literally every podcast on Rob's podcast. Right now. He's yelling at us right now. He's saying, "Don't mention that I do this."
Yeah. I really wish, honestly, that'd be
so funny. All right, so let's just take a quick ad break, and we'll be back to talk more highlights. Okay, so we are finally getting some just good old-fashioned Seth versus Drew build, and I'm loving it. Drew McIntyre as a heel really does it for me. His crowd work, like, it's so good. Like, I forgot how good he is at all of this, because I've never connected to the babyface Drew, honestly. And so him shutting up the crowd really quickly, like, say what if you're happy I beat up CM Punk. The CM Punk chants coming on. Oh man, I'm single-handedly keeping him relevant. It's just so good. And
side note, he right as Seth was about to enter, Drew got cut off saying this, but I swear he was gonna say CM Punk's famous line, "Tell me if I'm telling lies." He started to say it and then the music cut in, but he was just dragging Punk left and right, and it's so beautiful because
so good.
Whenever Punk is back, like, this is such a great feud. It needs to happen. It's going to happen.
And I just loved all of the points he was hitting on Seth too, about like he's worried about the Cody stuff. I like that he talked about like Cody promising The Rock a match, and they are really doing a pretty good job of all that pivoting and stuff that they did. talking about like, well, wrestling started in the carnivals. We moved up to arenas like this. So of course the next big thing is, the biggest stars are want to come here. And everything that Drew said in that promo, we have 2 clips of him talking in a promo, was so good. And then then following week, Seth firing back, being like, Drew, you're the last thing on my mind. I'm worried about everything but you because I don't see you as a threat. I'm like, wait a minute. Do I want Drew to win at WrestleMania? Like, it's
I think the story of like Drew winning, because Seth has been overlooking him to a degree,
so
and then going on the chase, I think could be really good.
You
I do.
have to do that.
The thing that's so fun about wrestling is there's a video that was done many years ago, and unfortunately, I believe the guy who did it is kind of an awful human being. But I don't know if you remember. Is it Wrestling is Wrestling? And it was done. It was like Triple H's like story over his entire career. It was super well done. I think the thing that's really fun about Drew is like, this feels so natural from everything he has done in terms of coming in as like a franchise and being the guy who was tagged to be a future world champion. And then that doesn't pan out. And he ends up in 3-man band and gets released. And then he comes back and he does have this like success story. And then that all sort of like is tarnished in his own selfish thing. Like, I love this idea that he's saying like, I didn't get a WrestleMania moment, and everyone, and Seth being like, you didn't get it because like the COVID was happening. Like, there are bigger issues than like you not getting a moment in front of like 40,000 fans, and that being like something that's jaded Drew. And now you have this storyline of I think it's really, really good. And like, again, the writing here of like Drew's character is really strong. And I do think like, I feel like you kind of maybe got to put the belt on him so that he's kind of right here. And then, the other thing too is like, let him have the moment and realize like, was it worth it for like, do you have the moment when like they're all going to boo you? Cause like they're not really going to boo him. They'll probably, cheer him. But I feel like there's so much fun to be had, I think, in Drew winning, Seth overlooking him, and then Seth chasing for the belt back.
Yeah. Or CM Punk chasing when he comes back, depending on how long it takes for him to come back. Like, they have to do it, Matt.
That's what
I'm so ready for it. Like, I just am so curious. I want to know what's the process that they have for writing and bringing these, just bringing their like promos together and everything now, because it is so much stronger and more logical, and the storylines feel so much more logical than they've ever felt. I want to know. I'm obsessed with it because they're clearly doing things different, a lot differently. And everything is based in like, okay, this is what this character's point of view is. And every single character, every single wrestler has a strong point of view that's consistent with their history, or at least could acknowledge it. And somehow they're also like kind of making sense of a lot of things that like didn't necessarily make sense with how random and all over the place the booking that that they were doing back in the day was. It's like, it's so impressive. And like, Mari, we've talked about like, just I think we probably even like looked at some of the photos of this on the podcast post Mania or pre Mania, but it's like seeing Cody and Drew, like back then they were tag team champions together, seeing them now and how they've evolved. Like, kudos to WWE. Like, they are on a hot streak that I hope doesn't end anytime soon for scandal purposes or, anything like that.
Yeah. I'm just glad that they're finally building this feud, because I'm like Drew. I'm like, dog, I'm glad to hear about you and this Rock and Roman stuff, but I want to hear about your match. You keep forgetting you have a match. I keep forgetting you have a match, Seth, because you are chasing other people's matches.
I will say Seth made the most innocuous comment to Drew. That's like, Drew's walking out. He's saying, you can't provoke me. And Seth says, look, you basically come behind the Rock, Roman, getting re-injured, like 5 other than my baby, like all these other things. And it fired up Drew, but it's like, it's good that they address that directly, because like Drew hasn't been treated like that. He hasn't been the A story with that championship or in general at all. So yeah, acknowledge it. It's a reality. Like I like that WWE isn't afraid of having the characters acknowledge that like, yeah, Drew hasn't been treated like a capable challenger for Seth. We'll see how that pays off. You know, and I do really think that Drew's gonna get that championship soon. I'm still holding out for my boy Damian Priest. Come on.
Oh God,
we need that. We need that. But you know what? Giving Drew that moment of having his WrestleMania moment, just to have it taken away from him would actually feel really good. Or not, you know, don't take it away. That would also feel good. I'm into it. I'm down. Let's steal his hopes and dreams from him. Give him his moment though.
That would be it'd be like you give him his moment, he has his moment, it's like great, and then he loses it. That, oh my God, if that happened, Drew should just snap. Like just snap.
I will say Drew McIntyre's fun fact, his first WWE theme song was named Broken Dreams. He's gonna let's follow through on that.
It's so good though. I'm happy that we're getting a lot from that.
Yeah.
And also, so we've been kind of talking about the Legado del Fantasma feud and the LWO feud. It's just been like so long that we've been like kind of picking and choosing where to go. But last week, Rey Mysterio returned after he's been gone on a lengthy absence because Legado took him out. And before that, the week before that, Carlito had returned because, of course, they had taken him out too. So it's like, but so I was like, okay, great. Rey comes out, he challenges Santos Escobar. I was so confused because this week, Rey and Santos had a great match. That match was amazing. I love watching lucha things, right? Like lucha things. And good lucha. What was the quote? But like, and then Dominic Mysterio comes out. I'm like, I'm confused. Why is Dominic in this? But they clarified it on Twitter. So the stipulation in the match was for Rey versus Santos, no Legado, no LWO at ringside, so that it would be a straight one-on-one, and it'd be like, okay, great, and it's going great. But Dominic came out and interfered, cost Rey the victory, and that like that was so stupid too though when he came out with the mask on and everything. They're like, who is that? Who do you think it is?
Rey Mysterio outside of the ring. Who's in the ring? It's like maybe it's Rey Mysterio Senior. Like I don't know.
Oh my gosh,
I have no clue.
Only tall other Mysterio. But he was able to interfere because he's not LWO, he's not Legado, and I was like, oh, okay, I guess that makes sense. But the whole time I was watching it, I was just like, this what? I was like, but Dominic's not in this. Like, I was so confused. I was very confused because I was like, is Judgment Day here? Like, is Judgment? I was confused.
I got it from the idea that like they had set up that there was no outside interference allowed from LWO or Fantasma. What are they setting up here? Because so Dominic, so Finn and Priest will be in the tag team ladder match, which I'm very excited for. So it does kind of leave like Dom out of the picture to have something at WrestleMania, and they do seemingly like he gets so much heat that it does feel like I think he wrestled maybe the second or third most matches last year too. Like so they obviously probably want to use him. I don't know that we're doing Dom versus Rey again. And so are we doing some sort of like, does he join Fantasma or not officially, but just to like team with them? But I'm a little like,
it just doesn't make
little
sense.
confused at what we're doing.
My only thought process is, so he went up against Ricochet this week, lost to Ricochet. I'm thinking for some reason, the Judgment Day, I think, have been trying to recruit Andrade for some reason. I'm like, y'all got too many people already.
Okay.
So maybe we get, I can't tell what Andrade's character right now. I can't tell if he's like supposed to be good or bad,
I-
but
I-
is he
I
bad?
don't know.
So
No, I can't.
assume.
Yeah,
He's
so
good.
maybe
The idea-
maybe it's Dom versus. Maybe we get Dom versus Andrade.
that's kind of fun. If the
That'd be
story
kind of-
here is
yeah.
that like
Leave him
Dom
alone?
now or like if Andrade like if they go back to Andrade and specifically Dom is like, come join me, and he's like, well, I would have, but like you mess with like Mexican wrestling royalty,
Oh, yeah,
and then it's
yeah.
like beats him up, and then they fight in a match. That's not bad. That's kind of fun.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Well,
Yeah.
No, but I just want to say it, like, to me it makes perfect sense that what happened with Dom showing up, because any opportunity he has
Yeah,
to ruin
yeah.
Rey Mysterio's
Yeah.
life, he's gonna do it. Like,
That's
he'll show
it,
up
yeah.
at Christmas and flip the table over.
You guys
Yeah.
did you guys
Show up
show,
at
that
Thanksgiving,
he
flip
got
the
booed
table
at his
over.
own wedding? Did you see that?
I'm sure he did.
He got booed at his own wedding. That's
Well,
funny.
And he
he
deserved
during his
it.
speech, yeah, people were booing Dom Mysterio.
Is there a video of this?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
love
yeah.
Oh my
that.
gosh, I
Yeah,
have to
check it out.
find
He got
that.
married, I think, a week or two ago.
A few
yeah.
weeks ago. Yeah.
It was
mhm.
very
Yeah.
recent. Caught me off guard. I wonder how Rhea feels about that. But honestly, it feels like there's like a
What?
very much like
Rhea
open
got married a few
relationship
months ago.
situation. I was look.
True.
I mean, I think that it's cool. Like, I'm
Stop
all for it. I'm sex
stop
positive.
pretending with the kayfabe. We
I'm just saying.
we all know.
I think the dynamic is really a progressive one between the couples. But
Yeah.
anyway,
Maybe, maybe it's not a it's just a Dom sub relationship. You know what I'm saying? 'Cause, yeah,
that's right.
mhm.
It is
Yeah.
definitely the Dom part. But I don't care where it goes from here. I mean, they're setting up something. I'm not even gonna try to wrap my head around it personally.
It was
Yeah,
just a
just
good
have
match. Though.
Dom be. I mean, and honestly, like, Dom is someone who you could just put in. Like, you could put him in any spot. Like, you could put him in a spot with a legend at Mania where he just gets his ass kicked. Hopefully not by like a Hulk Hogan or anything, but like some other legends. You could do anything with Dom at Mania. He doesn't even necessarily need to have a match. So, I mean,
He could just be on
I
the
don't know where it's
sidelines with
going, but
Rhea. Honestly,
he could. I don't know where it's going, but I mean, clearly they like to like needle at that thing between Rey and Dom. Will it pay off at Mania? I don't care, but we will come back to it at some point, which is pretty clear to me.
Legado is going to like the finals. I still don't know how that bracket works.
So yeah, they're gonna fight. I have it
put
here.
that bracket together.
So they're fighting New Catch Republic for one of the
Yes.
last spots, and then Theory and Waller are fighting the Street Profits for one of the
one of the last spots. Yeah. So I imagine that maybe LWO would interfere in order for New Catch Republic to go on to the
could be the deal of like, you interfere in this match because I can't have anybody else if you interfere to help my guy. But then that's some interesting tension between like, why did you help a team that's gonna fight us, but
wait,
yeah.
Side note, are there still, just the latest on just mentioning it with the
there's
six-pack
just 2.
ladder match, we have the New Day, we have
Day?
Judgment Day, we have Gargano
DIY.
DIY. I was just
Hashtag
like, are they
DIY.
still DIY? Yes.
Yep.
And then Truth
In
and
the
Miz,
picture.
and then we have two other
So
teams, right?
can I
So
tell you?
yeah.
Yeah. So to be one of New Catch or Fantasma or
Right.
whatever that name is, and then Legado del
Street
Fantasma,
Profits.
and then or Street Profits or Theory and Waller. Can I tell you? Miz does deserve to wrestle at WrestleMania. He's been around for forever. They should not be off the guard. But my dream is that the Miz is injured before the match, and therefore R-Truth needs a tag team replacement, and that person is John Cena, and R-Truth and John Cena win the tag team titles as a R-Truth's
What?
childhood hero.
wait,
Yes.
hold on. Let me pull this. I'm trying to pull up
His
this
childhood
picture
hero.
of like
That's
these.
true.
It's his
But
childhood
no,
hero.
let me
Imagine he won the tag team
watch.
titles as his childhood hero. It's so good. It's so fun. Even
Let
just
me-
one of the belts. I kind of want them to split the belts again, but
Yeah, we were talking about that. We think the rumor is like they might have one belt of each hanging up, and maybe they grab
separate belts.
That
Mhm.
is so
Separate
wrong.
belts.
But yeah, no, this will be good. So we get the qualifying matches next week, right?
Yeah, the last two. These
last
guys
two.
all won matches recently to qualify for the final match. Yeah.
I was kind of shocked this week when Street Profits. I was glad that Street Profits went over AOP.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know,
but I don't know.
I really do feel like
I don't
know. I already, for some reason, I thought that Waller and Theory were in the match already, and I do think they're going to end up in the match because we were talking about this last week, Mari, with the Randy Orton stuff. Like they've been doing such solid work across from him as these two goofy characters, and to your point, like Street Profits and AOP could have their own like pre-show match,
which would kind of suck. I would feel bad for the Street Profits for not making it onto WrestleMania, but
I'm okay
I could
with
definitely
it.
see it.
I'm okay with it for them. It's fine. Like in terms of the story, I'm okay with it, but I'm with you in terms of them as performers. But
I think New Catch is like guaranteed in there because again, those are Triple H's boys. Yeah.
And then like Legado has that everything going on.
Everything going
LWO,
on.
right?
Yeah. So I'm still excited for that tag team match. I don't know. Now I don't know who's gonna win. I want the Street Profits to win, but you're right. Story wise, it just doesn't make sense. But yeah. But anyways, that's what's going on there. And look at that.
Yeah.
Look at that. Look.
Wait, what else?
We have enough time to do the shoot segment. Look at that. Shoot. Yes, we're like really. Yeah, we're like really consistent with this now. Like,
we need a shoot song. We need to call up
Isaiah.
Call up Isaiah and just have him make a song for the shoot because we're back, baby.
He wants to make us. He wants to update our song. So maybe we should ask the audience if they want a new wrestling wrap-up.
Yes.
You could get rid of Ric Flair in the song. There's some people you could get rid of.
Okay.
But it rhymes with Bianca Belair, though. That's the thing.
Yeah,
so
you can find another rhyme.
Anyway,
David Flair.
Oh God! All right. Anyways, this is the shoot segment. The shoot in wrestling is any unplanned, unscripted, real life occurrence. For us, it's just to get off our chest whatever we want to. And give some people their flowers. Maybe not. We'll see. So this week we're talking about Candice LeRae turning heel. So very, very interesting what's going on here with Candice LeRae turning heel. So. About 2 weeks ago, lots of discourse. We kind of talked about the real stuff. Where we were talking about how Maxine got booed at a live show like 3 weeks ago. Yeah. And people were jumping in to like defend her, blah, 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 stuff like that. But 2 weeks ago, Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell went up against Maxine Dupri and Ivy Nile in a match. And it was like kind of just like mid-match, Candice just gets in Maxine Dupri's face and like, that's why everybody hates you. The girls in the back don't like you.
She was doing the caterpillar and she's like, she's not gonna take that move. I hate that. I hate that so much. I hate
that move.
And then
I hate the like wrestling is full of silly moves and things that don't, and you have to suspend your disbelief, and then to be like, oh, but this move, like it just blurs the line of like a shoot that I don't like. I really, really don't like.
Yes. Yeah. So on top of her saying she's not going to take that very silly move, she also says if your dead brother was here, he would be ashamed of you. And I'm sitting here like, huh? Because like. To me, it's really weird to bring up family in a wrestling capacity when like the family doesn't participate in wrestling. And then on top of that, like you had to tell us her brother was dead in order for that to hit. Like it felt very low. And then once you like, should I read what happened to her brother?
No. I mean, you could, sure.
It was a car.
I mean, I think it's kind of like makes it even worse. You know what I'm saying?
No. Like, and I do want to also just comment, and I think you could read it and share what happens. But I also just think like they were not asking us to read into like what actually happens, which
I
I think
think they
makes it so
are.
much worse. To your point, no, well, I mean,
When
like
you
to
bring up
actually look
somebody's,
it up, but
why
I
would I
think
not
like
look it up? I think the moment you bring up somebody's dead like relative and it's
yeah,
something that was not, that it's not like that's something that Maxine, that we knew about Maxine's background. You know what I'm
but I
saying? It's not like
yeah,
something like
but I think
that's
what's interesting is that they didn't bring. It's very interesting that they didn't bring that part of what actually happened to the show. They said like let's leave that out, which is just fascinating to me.
to me it's stupid. It doesn't make any sense to me. You know what I'm saying? Like okay, like bringing up family when you family is a part of like that wrestler's character, like when Samoa Joe was calling out AJ Styles' wife and his kids. AJ
Mhm.
Styles talks about his wife and his kids like all the time, and when he was in his babyface character, so that makes sense. You know, it kind of makes sense. You know, like bringing up somebody's dead brother doesn't make sense. So and of
It's
course
just mean. It's like a
it is.
horrible, nasty thing to do. That's how it
And
makes
then
sense. Like that, it
be,
doesn't, but it I get it. You
and
know.
so because of that, everybody who like everybody's like, wait, what, her brother, what's happening, what's going on? So WrestleOps, a wrestling like journalist or whatever, said Maxine's real life brother passed away in 2017 at the age of 22, which I was like, oh, okay, now that's just sad. But even more, it says he relied on car services because he suffered from seizures and struggled to use the right side of his body due to a rare genetic condition. um Even I'm not even going to try and say that, and I have a medical degree. On a night in late December, his life came to a sudden end after his Lyft driver pulled onto a highway at a rural intersection straight into the path of a Toyota 4Runner. Like, why? Why are we introducing this to the story? Like, I don't know. People may think we're like sensitive or something or whatever about this, but I just don't see the point.
Do
I don't, you
do
know
you
what I'm saying? What's the
do
point?
you does it feel like they pivoted this week? I mean, the story this week is that like one, I think it's Katana, is like she might have injured her
Mhm.
knee. The ref lets the
Yeah.
match continue. Candice tags herself in and like immediately puts on like a pretty brutal submission, while like Indy is like, oh my god, you've gone too, like you're becoming a little bit of a nightmare. It feels like maybe I hope that they have pivoted and decided not
Mhm.
that it's like, not that she's like being mean, it's more so that
Mhm.
she's like being too intense or whatever. I don't mind
Going
that.
too
I
far.
I liked this week's segment a lot,
I
and
did
I
like this
really
week's
didn't
segment.
know until I watched the clip of last week's segment that they're like, this is what they did last week. So I was like on
Mm,
board until I saw what they're doing last week. So if they continue more in the vein of what they did this week, I am good with it, and I'm not so good with it if it's more of what they did last week, specifically with
Yeah,
Maxine Dupri. Yeah.
yeah. You know,
exactly.
one thing I'll say is I really don't. I didn't have like as much of a problem with what they did between Maxine and Candice, because in my head, like all I'm doing rationalizing it is, okay, Maxine wanted to do this, like wanted to
Yeah.
reference her brother in some way. Obviously, she knows that she's not an embarrassment. Obviously, she knows that like her brother's proud of her. So to me, like, and I would love to hear from her about this. And it's funny because like just a few days before this segment, I listened to a long form interview with her, and it's just really fascinating to hear more of her backstory, where I believe she mentions her brother just in maybe in passing. Maybe she mentioned him. I'm sure she mentioned him passing away. But it's interesting because like I'm thinking about it, I'm like, if I'm in Maxine's shoes, and if I am like, look, I just like my brother would love to be mentioned in the storyline or referenced in the storyline. Sure, it's not classy, it's not the best execution. It's also not the worst thing that we have seen people say and do in
No.
wrestling. And so for me, part of it too is like wrestling just has had a way of going to this place that's like really dark and nasty and like just
Mhm.
trash sometimes. And I'm like this isn't the worst of what we've gotten, unfortunately, but I just like, I don't want to be defensive of the situation for her or for the performance, because like clearly there was something they figured out beforehand between them that we are not privy to. Was it a good choice? Probably not. Does it have us talking? I guess, if that was their point.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. The good thing is that it doesn't look like it. This didn't look like it was a shoot. It looked like
No,
Maxine
it was
was it was not.
that was not a
Yeah,
shoot.
that was not a shoot.
100%.
Exactly.
Candice
It was-
LeRae, I'm sure, is a phenomenal person.
yes.
You know,
So, but my thing is, it's not about. I mean, it's half about what is said, because,
yeah,
like, again, referencing dead family members, to me, it's like, I don't know. Like, I'm thinking about when Charlotte, like you said, David Flair is mentioned with Charlotte Flair. Like, that makes sense to me, because they've used David's death storyline wise, like even Rick has. So it just like that makes sense. And but like this felt just unnecessary for no reason, especially since you show us the next week that you can build heat for Candice in a way that doesn't need any of that. And
but
that was good.
I kind of disagree, because we wouldn't be talking about this if it was just her turning. I mean, maybe we would, but like people would not be talking about to the same level if she was just turning heel. So I also just want to feel for her as a performer, where what do? Do you just turn heel and then it's like, oh yeah, Candice is bad and mean now. Great. We still don't care about her as much as we should, despite her being a phenomenal performer, versus her doing something that's controversial and approved with the other performers and scripted and going through with it. Like, I can't hate on the performers and their choice to do it. Because it's money at the end of the day. Like,
except,
when it's like,
can I say
please.
that wrestling has a long history of, doing these things that, that are like saying, like, if we do this thing, it'll be good for your career. Like, I can imagine the argument here is like, there is a potential for sure that Maxine Dupri was told, like, she's like, oh, well, they're looking for something like to build sympathy for you, and we could use this. But there's also the chance that it, like, they brought it up and she kind of feels like she has to say yes to it because of the way wrestling works. That if you say no, you look like you're not cooperative and that you'll lose these opportunities. And so I think it's, there are very weird power dynamics at play in pro wrestling. And I want to believe, Matt, that it's the story you're saying of like, she's the one who's willing to do it or brings it up or whatever. But I don't know that I have enough trust in like the history of pro wrestling to be like, this stuff doesn't like get used like with everybody's like proper authority and the power that Maxine has to say no if she doesn't actually want to use it.
Just to echo what you said about the power dynamics, like that is undoubtedly there. I also just want to be cautious, because the history of wrestling, 1000%, Vince McMahon, abuser extraordinaire, would have forced this onto, or even just like would have really pushed for this. And there are so many stories of the women talking about this. I don't know if I mentioned this on the podcast, but I really loved another long form podcast I listened to. By the way, this is all I keep thinking of the podcasts I listen to, which is Chris Van Vliet and his podcast interviewing people. But he was interviewing Tori Wilson right around the time of the Royal Rumble, and she was talking about a lot of stuff that Vince was like pushing her to do and making her do. So that's very real. And I'm with you there, Grace. Like, we don't know. But that's also why I'm like a little cautious, because I'm like, I need to know. Tell us what is happening, because then it's just uncomfortable for us to even talk about and try to like reason. Because in some sense, we want to be protective of the performers, and I think just seeing the abuses, literal abuses that have happened to women performers in WWE, like we want to push back against that, but. Like, what is the reason? What is the reason? Tell us. Give us the info. Give us the tea.
And at least on Twitter, Maxine hasn't like addressed it at all.
Yeah, well, come on. The least you could do. Just like let us in. And it's fine though. Like, this is wrestling, but this is like very, very real. Maybe I'd say too real.
Too real.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
yeah,
It looks
I
like
guess we'll see what happens. Like, will there be not a payoff? I don't mean a payoff like in a storyline sense, but
yeah.
like in retrospect, will they look back and say that it was worth it?
Yeah, after the match, it looks like they did have Maxine Dupri. It looked Ivy comforting Maxine after the match when it happened.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this
That's
is
it.
wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yeah. So it's it's the carnival. It's the carny of it all. So let us know, what do you guys think about the whole situation with it? Was that necessary? Was it too much? Was it okay? Because anything's fair in wrestling. Let us know what you
It,
think.
it was definitely not necessary. That's for sure.
But that's it for the highlights of the week. The highlights of the week can be found in a really handy dandy playlist, either in your show notes or show description, so you can watch along with us if you haven't already. Let's get into, before we get into our plugs and our closing. We have Grace here. We need to get an update of the RHAPUp Wrestling Championship.
Oh yeah, what's up?
So very quickly,
Federation.
so at the Elimination Chamber, Mari, you did unfortunately lose your championship. Fortunately for
did.
Mike Edwards, he did win the championship. Boo. Yeah,
Was lucky.
congratulations, Mike. New champ. I also set up a number one contenders match, and now I'm in a little bit of a dilemma, Mari, because I don't know. We haven't really established the rules about rematch clauses and whether or not do you immediately get a rematch. And so,
give her a rematch.
Obviously, last month I had a number one contenders match. Here are the two ideas that I have for how to book myself out of the situation. So one is very simply, it's a triple threat match in the main event of WrestleMania. It's Mike Edwards versus you versus I believe Chris is the individual who won the number one contenders match. So I'll have to double check that. The other thing is I did not say what the number one contendership was for. And so instead of it being for the world championship, it could be for a brand new intercontinental championship.
Don't do that. Don't do that, Mari.
Don't,
we can't do that, Mari. We can't do that, right?
I know it
like,
does. I feel like giving you the option, Mari, is you being like, well, yeah, let Chris go fight for the Intercontinental Championship. I'll have my rematch for the world title. So I feel like
that's
it's a little unfair.
That's some Austin Theory Intercontinental Championship Money in the Bank trash. Like, no.
I like the idea of a triple threat, though. I do.
Okay.
I like the idea of a triple threat.
All right.
But also, that is a great way to introduce a new belt. But then we would need another opponent,
another contender. I know. We'll figure it out later. An Intercontinental Championship definitely, could be in the works later down the line.
Yeah.
Or if people have suggestions for what our like secondary belts should be. But I do believe shall then go with a triple threat match between yourself getting a rematch against Mike Edwards and then our number one contender. I believe it's Chris, but I'll double check this.
Could we
coming for you, Mike and Chris?
No more, but you just want every match to be a title match.
God, don't threaten our listeners. And yes, Grace, every match should be a title match because like we could have 10 championships in the league.
Oh, God.
What's wrong with that?
I believe it is Chris Pettis who is going to challenge for the
I want to be the belt. I want to be the belt collector one.
Matt, it is WrestleMania. I don't know. Do you have anybody you want to like? Should people call you out for a match at WrestleMania? Like what?
Ooh, an open challenge.
I'm all for an open challenge. But what are the stakes?
So DM Grace
with your promo,
for your open challenge.
I'll take on all comers. Not just one-on-one. Like if whoever wants to face me, I guess I'm not the commissioner. I'm not in charge. I'm not booking. I'll fight whoever. I will win in my heart. I'm gonna win, win a million hearts.
And if people want to do, like I'm just sort of randomly putting together the cards, so people want to challenge each other in the Job as a Squadcast group, feel free. So
feel free.
Well, make it easier for me to book the card. So
yeah. Oh, that's fun.
So a WrestleMania prediction contest upcoming. Probably get it up pretty early that week. We should probably know most of the card if we miss some matches. No biggie, but just to make sure everyone has lots of time to submit. And if you want to join, it's never too late. We'll put up the sign up that week before. You can just message in the Job as a Squadcast group.
I do
Yes.
really feel like those tiebreakers. Well, I'll say personally, those tiebreakers are what have gotten me every time so far. I am really curious what they could look like. You know what? Because there are so many matches.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's going to be different. Yeah. Well, yeah. With WrestleMania, it's going to be different because, like, for the Rumble and for Elimination Chamber, it's kind of like we kind of knew what was going to happen, so it had to come down to the tiebreakers.
Yeah.
With like WrestleMania being such a big card, plus like once we get past WrestleMania, I think it's gonna get harder and harder to predict.
Agreed.
I just I want to live my boyhood dream. You know, like I want to cry in the middle of the ring with my, back hurting, and maybe I'm gonna have to retire after winning the championship. But I want the championship.
Retire after the
Yeah, I'm not trying to defend it.
No shade, but you got to win a championship first before you can retire with it.
Exactly.
The people's champ is me.
Well, all that to say, if you want to get in on the fun, please come and join the Job Has a Squadcast Facebook group. You can just hit us up. We'll get you in there. DM us either on Twitter. Like, I feel so sorry because people are like, "Hey, I've been trying to get in." I'm like, "Oh my god, I'm so sorry." Like,
have you been trying? Yeah, like let us know.
Let us know.
People,
yeah.
Please, like, actually let us know. We'll get you in. There have been
as soon as possible.
I have heard from some people who've been like, for a long time I wanted to be part of it, but I couldn't find it. I'm like, that's literally
because it's a private group right now, right? It's
which, like, you know what? It'll stay that
way.
way.
Unfortunately, we can't turn it public.
Yeah. No, but there are so many epic people in the group, like Grace, Leeder, and Mari, and me.
We might have to poke some of our esteemed colleagues and get them in on the fun.
Imagine you could face Rob Sesternino.
Right. Exactly.
You really could, actually.
Exactly. Maybe somebody should get in the Facebook group and call Rob out for
if I lose again, I'm going to call Rob out.
It does feel like maybe your big WrestleMania match is against Rob Sesternino. I'm just saying.
I mean,
it does feel like
is Rob in the league?
Well, we gotta coax him into joining.
Wait,
maybe he's gonna make his WrestleMania debut.
Hold on.
Chappelle is also in there.
I don't care.
Chappelle, you want to play Chappelle?
Okay, well, like let me tell you something, Grace. I need Rob, Chappelle, whoever you are. I don't care who you are or who you think you are. I need you to know that regardless of all of my losses, regardless of all of the obstacles that the commissioner Grace Leeder has put in my way,
they've just been us. It's just been Mari and
I. I am the greatest. I have what it takes to win, and I'm gonna come for you, Rob. I'm tired of you yelling in my ear while I'm here on the podcast telling you what to say. Chappelle, I'm tired of all the times that you've shown up on Crime Scene trying to beat me to 10 episodes. I'm done. I'm coming for you. Come for me at WrestleMania. It's my time. And Grace, add the championship to the match. We'll make it a championship match. We'll put me in.
Wait, so now you
haven't really won a match for the Intercontinental title. I don't know about that. I don't know.
Maybe the European Championship.
I don't know. 24/7 championship. You have to defend it all the time. Maybe
internet title.
Ooh. Oh my god, that's so funny.
Oh, the internet title.
I like, Matt, that you thought your best strategy to be able to potentially win a match at WrestleMania was to challenge like 7 people. I like that. That's very good.
Odds.
Really.
Yeah, increase your odds. Matt Scott.
Oh, because you're gonna have all individual matches. They're not like a 7-way scramble, right?
I think someone will throw one to me.
Okay. Oh my god, that was so funny. Okay.
That's very funny.
It's funny to you, but it's real. It's real to me. Damn it!
It's real to me. Damn it. Grace, tell the people what you've been up to. Where can they find you?
Yeah, so post-show recaps is wrapping up at the end of the month. So I've mostly been doing a lot of wrap-up shows over there. So we'll have like a final post-show recaps theater. Mike Bloom and I have been doing some countdowns like you've been doing over on the recap kickback we're doing. In February, we've been counting down the best TV since 2014. So we'll wrap up with the best television shows. So it had to have started airing in 2014 or later. So that's kind of the twist to the show. It had to exist in the entirety of post-show recaps. So we'll count those down. Yeah, I'm sure we did a Succession pod. There's a little surprise pod that's coming that I think should be fun. There's a lot of interaction. So yeah, wrapping things up and then looking forward to what's next. There are things in the works. I just can't tell you about them yet, but they'll be happening. Yeah. So I'm on social media at Hi from Grace. Make sure you follow me so that you get, you find out whatever I'm doing next.
Yes, and excited to see you on AEW.
And I'm all elite. That's right.
I will say I did officially tweet out the graphic and tag Tony Khan, so we'll see.
Wow. Okay. Great.
We'll see what happens there.
That's so
good
funny.
luck in your future endeavors.
Yeah. Thank you.
Anyway, I guess this is a good time for me to say that you could follow me on all of the social medias at MattScottGW, and always a good time to check out Pod Friends, where I interview people in the RHAP as a podcast community. RHAPasawebsite.com/podfriendsfeed. So many great episodes, so much of a great back catalog, and you'll actually be able to hear from like a lot of past guests of the Wrestlemania RHAPup and the like. So check that out. And I'm pumped, Mari, because I'll let you take it on, but I'm gonna be with you on Crime
later today.
Scene. Well, no, later today. Yes.
That too.
Yes, Blood on the Clock Tower. I figured you're gonna plug that too. But anyway, Crime Scene. I'm gonna be on Crime Scene this
week,
coming week. Yes, I'm pumped about that. And I know we have some other things coming up potentially. We'll keep folks updated. But Mari, where can the people find you?
Of course, you can find me. You can find me on Twitter at Mari Talks Too Much. That's 2, like the number 2. You can find me every Tuesday, me and Sarah Carradine, bringing True Crime Tuesdays to RHAP with the Crime Scene podcast. This week coming up, Matt will be joining us to talk about Can I Tell You a Secret, a docuseries on Netflix. We had a very interesting conversation, so definitely check that out. But last week we did a crossover episode with the Mess Magnets, Sasha and Kirsten, talking about Quiet on Set. I mean, Quiet on Set is a big topic of conversation, so we had to bring out the big guns. The crime magnets came together.
Not the crime magnets.
Yeah, where me and Sarah joined Kirsten and Sasha. So you can listen to that episode in our feed or the Mess Magnets feed. We had a lot of fun.
If you have a crime magnet, make sure it's turned off. You do not want crime being pulled into your. That's bad. That's bad news.
Exactly.
Yes, and lovely work on that podcast, and like such a great series, docu-series to check out. Dark,
very dark,
but
very
I think
dark.
really like
Lots
relevant
of
and lot of nostalgia related things. I wouldn't call it
nostalgia.
None of
nostalgia
it
destroying things. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So definitely check us out. You can subscribe by going to robhasawebsite.com/crime feed. You can also follow us on Twitter at Crime Scene RHAP. And of course, every week on the Kickback, you're all welcome to join us. We just wrapped up our bracket series. We did a bracket of the top black TV show theme songs. And if you want to know who won, if you want to know who took home the prize, you got to go watch both part 1 and part 2 over on the Recap Kickback. You can go to recapkickback.com to subscribe wherever you listen to your podcast, or you can go to Recap Kickback on YouTube to watch the videos. I would suggest for the bracket you actually listen to the audio, because
I was gonna ask you about that.
because if you listen to the audio, then you can actually hear the themes. We get to play the theme songs with the audio. We do not get to play the theme songs on YouTube. YouTube was like, no. no. So I definitely suggest, we tried it. We tried it for that series to go and listen to us wherever you get your podcasts. Coming up this week on the Recap Kickback, we are talking about the Freaknik documentary that just dropped on Hulu, talking about one of the greatest parties in the 90s, Freaknik. And I still haven't watched it yet, and I can't wait to talk. But I can't wait to talk about it. So yeah, just go and join the Kickback. We're here every week. And like Matt said, later on today, you can find us over on Twitch. At Dwight Moore, who we just had on 2 weeks ago. He is doing a Blood on the Clock Tower game night tonight. Today. So you can go to at Doing More on Twitch in order to see from his perspective. I thought about streaming my perspective.
Yeah.
But no, I'm not gonna do it for the first time. If I do it again, like maybe I'll do it, like, you know, I. So
it's funny because that crossed my mind too, and I don't even stream, but I was like,
I stream, but
you could just stream to like the Pod Friends Twitter, like don't even mess with Twitch. With my perspective, but no, this is gonna be fun. And for anyone who doesn't know, because I didn't really know, Blood on the Clock Tower is basically like Mafia. I'd say a lot of games are like Mafia.
It's a social strategy game,
social strategy, social deduction, all of that fun stuff. And I'm gonna be good. You know, don't vote me out because I'm not gonna be a bad boy on there. I'm not gonna be a devil. What are the roles? Does anyone know?
Yeah, demon or an imp or whatever.
Close. Like Finn Balor. Got it.
Yeah. All right. So if you haven't already, what are you waiting for? Please go rate, review, and subscribe to the Wrestling RHAPUp podcast by going to robhasawebsite.com/wrestling feed, and you can subscribe wherever you listen to your wrestling. Subscribing, leaving ratings 5 stars, that really helps us. So please go do that. You can also send us any emails by going to wrestling@robhasawebsite.com. You can follow us on Twitter. We've been having fun on Twitter at Wrestling RHAPUp. That's at Wrestling RHAPUP. And you can use hashtag Wrestling RHAPUp. And finally, anytime is a great time to join the Patreon. But I mean, this is like an even amazing time. You can join the RHAP Patreon by going to patreon.com/RHAP. So you can be included in all these like Patreon 5 for 5, these patron only games that Grace will be setting up. Join this amazing community and tell them that the Wrestling RHAPUp sent you. All right. Patreon.com/RHAP. Become a patron today. Thank you, Grace. Thank you, Matt. This was so fun as always. And just everybody remember, wrestling is for everybody, but not all wrestling is for everyone. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Throw 'em up, lay it down just like Matt Amari. Wrestling RHAPUp's gonna make it sorry. Feeling like The Rock cause I'm driving in Ferraris. And we coming every week and it's feeling like a party. Will a Ric Flair, showing out like Bianca Belair, Best podcast, flush it in the air, From the rings and we win it, don't care, No cap. Throw 'em up, lay it down just like Matt Amari. Wrestling RHAPUp's gonna make it sorry. Feeling like The Rock cause I'm driving in Ferraris. And we coming every week and it's feeling like a party.